My name is Emily Parker, and I am 35 years old. Before I take you into the storm that changed everything in my family, let me pull you close and ask, where are you watching from? Canada, the United States, somewhere else. Whoever you are, welcome. Now let me introduce the people in my story, the ones who shaped my life in ways I never expected. There is Mom, a woman who always spoke with calm eyes, even when saying things that broke hearts. There is Grandma Louise, small but fierce, the kind of grandmother who could scare a grown man with a single look. There is Dad, quiet most days, louder on days when he shouldn't be. And then there is me, Emily, the girl who tried to be kind even when kindness felt like a heavy backpack to carry. But before the story begins, let's start at the highest peak, the moment that shook me so deeply that even now, I still hear it in my sleep. I was sitting in my parents' living room, holding the little blue book where I kept track of every dollar I had saved for the past 2 years. I had been saving for something important. My first house. A small one, nothing fancy. Just something that smelled like freedom. But when I opened my savings account that morning, the balance showed $0. I ran home, confused, my heart banging like a door in the wind. Mom stood in the kitchen, stirring soup like nothing was wrong. "Mom," I said, "my savings, everything is gone." She didn't blink. Not once. She just wiped her hands on a towel and said, "We spent your savings on someone important." The words hit me so hard I forgot how to breathe. I stared at her. "More important than me?" Yes. Before she could answer, Grandma Louise, who had been sitting on the couch knitting, shot to her feet like a firecracker. Her eyes were sharp, angry, and ready for war. "Name that someone. Right now," she yelled. And that is where the room froze. Mom's lips tightened. Dad looked away. And I felt my legs shake as I waited for the truth that could tear our family apart. But before she could speak, "That's where I'll leave the cliff for now. You're hanging with me, right? 'Cause now let me take you back, to the beginning of the story. To the days when things were calm, when love felt simple, and when none of us knew that the truth was already crawling toward us like a quiet shadow. I grew up in a small town in Michigan, in a house that always smelled like pancakes and lavender. Mom loved baking, and Grandma loved filling every corner with flowers. Our home wasn't rich, but it was warm. People came to my family for help all the time. Borrowed sugar, borrowed tools, borrowed time. And Mom always said, "Help people, Emily. One small kindness can change a whole life." I believed her. I lived by it. Sometimes too much. Even as an adult, I sent money home whenever Mom said things were tight. I helped Dad pay bills when his work hours got cut. I helped Grandma buy new glasses the year her sight blurred. I helped everyone even when I had little. But I didn't mind. I loved them. And kindness never felt like a loss, until the day it was used against me. Before everything fell apart, there were good days. Days when we sat together on the porch drinking iced tea. Days when I told them stories from my job at the community center, and Grandma teased me about still being single at 35. "Don't worry," she'd say. "Your match is somewhere in this world. Maybe he's lost, but he'll find you." We laughed a lot. We argued a little. Life felt normal. The first small sign that something was wrong came one Saturday morning. I woke up to a voicemail from Mom. "Emily, call me back, it's urgent." Her voice sounded shaky, but when I called, she brushed it off. "Oh, it's nothing," she said. "Just checking on you." But something in her tone felt strange. Like she was hiding a crack behind a smile. A few days later, Dad acted oddly too. He asked me questions he never asked before. "How much have you saved now? Do you check your bank often? Do you trust online systems?" Didn't make sense, but I let it go. Families have weird moments. Then came the day, 3 weeks before the storm, when Grandma whispered to me while washing dishes. "Your parents are acting funny," she said. Eyes shifting. Doors closing. Secrets hiding. I laughed it off. What could they possibly be hiding from me? If only I knew. Then came the real blow. The day I checked my bank account. First I thought the screen was glitching. I refreshed it. Then again. And again. But the balance stayed the same, $0. My throat closed. I checked my transaction history. One large transfer. Done in person. From my account. Straight into another bank account. Someone had used everything. I rushed to my parents' house. I didn't even knock. I just walked in with my heart ripping in every direction. And there, standing in the kitchen, Mom said the words that shattered the ground under my feet. "We spent your savings on someone important." Grandma's scream followed. And at that exact moment, the front door swung open with a loud crack. A shadow stepped inside. The front door didn't just open. It burst inward like someone had been standing there with their hand on the handle, ready to rush in at the worst possible second. All three of us turned toward the doorway. Mom froze. Dad's eyes widened. Grandma's hand tightened around the back of the couch. No. I felt my stomach twist, as if the room had suddenly tilted. A tall figure stepped inside, breathing hard like they had run the whole way here. Their jacket was dusty. Their shoes were muddy. Their eyes were wild, scanning the room like they expected danger. But no one spoke. Not me. Not Grandma. Not even Mom, who always had something to say. Then the figure whispered, "Did you tell her?" And Mom closed her eyes, almost like she wished the person hadn't shown up. But before I could ask anything, before Grandma could snap or Dad could explain, the figure stepped further into the light. And the room went deadly quiet. But that's where that moment pauses. Because this chapter starts where the last one left off. Now let's step back and walk toward that door once more. Earlier that morning, before the storm twisted my whole world, the day had started simple and quiet. The sun was soft. The air smelled like wet grass. And I woke up believing it would be a normal Saturday. I spent the morning folding laundry and singing badly to music I loved. My life wasn't perfect, but it was mine. And I was proud of how far I'd come. Growing up, things hadn't always been easy. But Grandma had always taught me something I carried everywhere. "Emily," she'd say, "kindness is expensive. Not money expensive, heart expensive. Give it, but don't let people empty you." I had given kindness anyway, maybe too freely. That morning I planned to go grocery shopping. But before leaving, something inside me nudged. "Check your bank account." I almost ignored the feeling. But I listened. And when the screen loaded, my whole body went cold. My savings, $42,000, the money I had been building for my first home, was gone. I stared at the screen as if staring long enough would make the numbers return. My hands shook so much I almost dropped my phone. Then I did something I rarely did. Panic. I checked the transaction details. The transfer had happened 2 days ago. Done at a local branch. Done using my name. Done using someone who had my ID information. And only one thought hit me. Someone stole my future. I didn't take time to think. I grabbed my keys, ran to the car, and drove straight to my parents' house. Every second felt like a drum beating in my ears. When I stormed into the living room, Mom was stirring soup like she was waiting for me, almost like she knew I'd come. Dad sat on the couch pretending to watch TV, but the screen was black. And Grandma was knitting slowly, watching everyone like she already suspected something. The moment I said, "My savings are gone," Dad's hand twitched. Mom didn't blink. And Grandma stopped knitting mid-row. What happened next changed everything. Mom told me she spent my savings. She said it so casually it felt unreal. Those were the words that cut through me so sharply I could barely speak. "We spent your savings on someone important," she said. Someone important. More important than me. When I asked if that person was more important than her own daughter, Mom didn't answer. Her face stayed calm, far too calm. But Grandma exploded. Her voice shook the room. I had never seen her that angry. "Name that someone. Right now." And that's when Dad stood quickly, as if ready to shield Mom from whatever was coming. But no one had the chance to say another word because the front door flew open. Now let's return to that moment. When the tall figure stepped inside, Grandma gasped. Dad took a slow step backward. Even Mom's fingers trembled slightly, though she tried to hide it. I stared at the figure, my heart pounding so loudly it felt like the walls could hear it. The person's jacket was worn, their hair messy, their eyes tired. Something about them looked broken, but not dangerous. More like someone who had carried too much for far too long. "Did you tell her?" the figure repeated softly. Mom didn't answer. Dad swallowed hard. Grandma's eyes narrowed like she was trying to identify a stranger from an old memory. Then the figure finally turned their eyes toward me. For a moment it felt like time cracked open. I didn't know who they were. Not yet. But something in their expression told me this person was tied to the missing money. Tied to the secret Mom refused to say. Tied to everything about to crash over us. I stepped forward, my voice barely steady. "Who are you?" The figure opened their mouth. But right then, a loud banging erupted at the back door. 3 heavy knocks. Fast, aggressive, urgent. Everyone jumped. Grandma clutched her chest. Dad whispered, "Not now." Mom's face drained of all color. And the tall figure whispered, "They're here." Before I could even ask who they were, the back door handle started to shake. Violently. The shaking of the back door sounded like someone was trying to break it off its hinges. Bang, bang, bang. Each knock hit harder than the last. Grandma grabbed my arm. Dad rushed toward the hallway like he wasn't sure whether to hide or open the door. Mom whispered something over and over, so quietly it sounded like a prayer or maybe a regret. And the tall figure, the one who had stepped in only minutes earlier, took 3 slow steps backward until their shoulders touched the wall. "They found me," the figure muttered. I didn't think they'd follow me here." "Follow? Ooh, why?" My heart raced, my throat dry, my thoughts chasing each other with no answers. "What is going on?" I whispered, but no one answered. The banging turned into kicking. The entire house shook. Then suddenly it stopped. The silence that followed was worse than the noise. We all stood there, frozen in place, waiting for something. Anything. A faint clicking sound came from the back door, like someone slowly testing the lock from outside. Grandma whispered, "Emily, stay close." Her voice trembled, but her grip was strong. The tall figure finally spoke, their voice hoarse. "They're not going to leave. They need to finish what they started." Mom closed her eyes. Dad rubbed his forehead like he had expected this all along. I stepped forward, feeling anger rising in my chest. Anger mixed with fear, confusion, and hurt so deep it felt like a bruise inside me. "Someone explain what is happening," I said. "Now." No one spoke. No one looked at me. So I turned to the tall figure. "You said they found you. Who are you? Why were you here? Why is my money gone? What did my parents spend it on?" The figure opened their mouth to answer. But before they could, the back door lock snapped. Clean, sharp breaking sound. Grandma gasped. Dad stumbled back. Mom grabbed the tall figure's arm. My heart slammed against my ribs. The door creaked, opened a few inches, and a sliver of dark clothing appeared. But then, nothing. The door didn't open all the way. It hung halfway, the wind pushing it forward an inch, then back again. No one stepped inside. No voice called out. No body moved through the doorway. Dad finally whispered, "They're gone." But the tall figure shook their head. "No. They're waiting." "For what?" Before anyone could answer, the tall figure looked at me, really looked, and said, "Emily, I'm the reason your mother took your savings." My stomach dropped. The air felt too thick to breathe. Before I could respond, they continued. "She did it to protect me. She had no choice." Mom covered her mouth like she couldn't bear to hear it out loud. Grandma looked furious. Dad closed his eyes. I felt my world spin. Protect? From what? From who? Why would my mom spend everything I've worked for on someone I don't even know? I asked, hurt leaking into every word. The figure swallowed hard. "I'm not a stranger." Froze. My chest tightened. Something inside me shifted. And then, a loud crash erupted from outside. Something, or someone, had knocked over the metal trash bin against the back wall of the house. Gasp. Dad grabbed a lamp like it was a weapon. Grandma whispered, "Dear Lord." The tall figure stepped forward and grabbed my hands. Their eyes were filled with something I didn't understand. Fear, guilt, pain, maybe all three. "Emily," they said, "listen to me. I'm the reason your savings are gone. I never wanted this. I never wanted you to be pulled into my mess. But your mom, she couldn't let me disappear. She couldn't lose me again. Lose you again. Again. What does that mean?" asked. The tall figure took a deep breath. They squeezed my hands tighter. "Because I'm..." A window shattered. Glass exploded across the kitchen floor. Grandma screamed. Dad dropped the lamp. Mom pulled the tall figure behind her. I threw my arms over my face as tiny shards flew everywhere. Someone or something had thrown a heavy object straight through the window. When I lowered my arms, I saw a brick lying on the floor surrounded by broken glass. A brick with a note taped to it. A white folded paper, wrapped tight, marked with 3 black letters. The tall figure's face went sheet white. Dad backed away until he hit the wall. Mom whispered, "Oh God, no." Grandma pointed at the note with a shaky finger. "What does that mean? What does that stand for?" I bent down slowly, carefully, and picked up the brick. My hands trembled as I peeled the tape off the note. The tall figure yelled, "Emily, don't open it." But it was too late. The note fell open in my hands. 6 words were written inside. Big, dark, angry. Words that seemed to suck all the air from the room. Words that meant danger. Real danger. Words that connected directly to the tall figure. And to my missing savings. I read the note out loud. And the moment those 6 words left my mouth, Grandma fainted. Mom screamed. Dad rushed forward. And the tall figure grabbed me, shouting, "We have to go now."